Ian, Six Nations Rugby is back tomorrow as Ireland take on Italy in Dublin. It's quite exciting, isn't it?
I think for the diehard fan, just to be back and seeing some sort of live action is obviously, a huge thing, and especially trying to give people a bit of a boost in this difficult period. So I think as well it'll just be it's intriguing because I don't think anyone really knows where the two teams are at. It's been a stop-start I suppose in the last in the Six Nations a few months ago, and Italy obviously still looking for that elusive win. So I think it's just intriguing.
As you say, it's hard to know where both teams are at with this big break. But where do you feel they actually are at this moment in time?
Yeah, I think Ireland, I still think there's a bit of an unknown, I suppose, with the coaching combination of Andy Farrell and Mike Catt. I suppose just my experience of working with Mike, he's such an open coach in terms of letting players drive things, and he sees the game in maybe a different way than other people do. So I think, you will see maybe Ireland with a few more attacking options maybe in the last sort of 18 months to what Ireland had produced. Italy, on the other hand, as I said, 24 losses, in the Six Nations since 2015 is not pretty reading. But Franco Smith is someone that's looking to develop the game. I think he's brought in a lot of youngsters, and I think people are going to be, Italians in particular, are going to be excited about seeing Paolo Garbisi playing at 10.
As you say, with Andy Farrell coming in and Mike Catt, who you've worked with, Ireland have looked to improve that attack, that try against Scotland, and some different options at first receiver against Wales. Is that something Mike Catt will bring going forward?
Yeah, I think it's just a combination, I suppose, of senior players, whether that is Murray, Sexton, they've got obviously their own idea on how games, can be won. But Mike definitely, I think, that try that you alluded to against Scotland, I think if I'm to guess, I'm not in the camp, but if I'm to guess, I think that's sort of Mike, classic, idea of his coming to the fore. So again, I think you just need time with these things, and I suppose Mike in particular hasn't had enough games really to have that blueprint. But I think as long as the Irish guys can buy into what he's trying to do, I'm sure it'll be successful.
Ireland giving starting debuts to Hugo Keenan and Will Connors. Did you expect them to start? What can we see from them?
Yeah, I think more so Hugo, I suppose, as opposed to Connors, because of Josh van der Fleer. I think he can feel obviously, a bit hard done by, but that's, the ruthlessness of professional sport, let alone professional rugby. And I think it's in terms of the back row, I think it's a really well balanced back row of Doris, Connors and Stander. So for me, it's one of the key battles in the game tomorrow, because that Italian back row is a very powerful one when they get going. So it's certainly an intriguing battle.
That's what I just mentioned there, that Italy in that back row, they could get ascendancy there with the likes of Bram Steen, Pelledri and Sebastian Negri. Yeah,
again, I've been fortunate enough to play with these three guys, and Jake in particular with the English Premiership stats is up there and top in some cases. So with ball carrying meters, he's definitely, with ball in hand, one of the most devastating runners in European rugby at the moment. So I think Italy, part of their game is just based around trying to get those three guys involved as much as possible. So I think that's why Connor's there to get those chop tackles in, and hopefully someone like Stander will try and get over the ball as quick as possible. I think that could be one of the reasons maybe why he was picked.
The stats aren't great for Italy, as you say, 25 defeats in a row in the Six Nations. It's difficult for them, isn't it?
It's very difficult. Listen, I've been on the receiving end of it. It's not easy, but it is professional sport, and that's ruthless, But I can tell you guys, you don't go out to lose games, but it's really at the very highest level. It's small margins can be the difference of winning and losing a game, or winning and losing a game by 20 points. So there is, in the couple of games you've seen with Italy, there have been, in the 3 games under Franco has been huge. Maybe not the first one, but in the last 2, there's been certainly positive moments, and it's just not maybe just not finishing it and not having that ruthless streak, maybe where Italian rugby has maybe lacked in the last few years. So, as I said, I'm hoping to see a fired up Italy and a competitive Italy, and Italy that was close to winning. It's obviously the odds are against us, but if things go well, getting that back row involved, Paolo Garbisi, who probably has a free spirit, been so young, you never know what's going to happen.
What changes is Frank O. Smith trying to bring to that Italian, especially the backline?
Yeah, I think he's trying to bring a depth in play. I think they're playing a lot deeper than what they have done or what we have done in the last few years, and I think a ruthlessness is what he's trying to bring back. I mean, Italy, we always remember sort of 15, 20 years ago, Italy was just deemed an Italy 8 or an Italy 10. So I think he's just trying to bring back that steeliness. That front five that he's picked is not by any means the best with ball in hand. It is basically a front five to try and stop the opposition, ground and pound almost. And I suppose that is your base for trying to develop the rest of the parts of your game.
He's made a big call at 10, starting young Paolo Garbisi. Your old position. How good is Paolo, and what can we expect from him tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't think we can say it's my position. I never actually started, and he's already done at age 20. So, no, he's definitely well thought of. Captain of the under-20s last year. He's got a good left foot on him. He's a good tackle, and he's got a good eye for a gap. So he's sort of almost got the complete package at the moment. It's a massive step up, and to play against Johnny Sexton, one of the world's best over the last 10 years, is certainly will be a serious test. But in some ways, that can be a good thing as well, is that you've got nothing to sort of measure it up against, and you can just express yourself. But again, playing 9 and 10, you're only as good as what the pack delivers in front of you. So that will obviously be a massive challenge for that front day to give him good ball.
Do you think he is the man going forward to lead Italy at 10?
Yeah, I mean, there's huge competition. There's 4 guys there at the moment, with Antonio Rizzi, Carlo Cano is playing 12, Tommaso Allan and himself. So, I mean, Tommy has been, Italy's lead man for the last 6 or 7 years. So, it just adds competition, and that's sort of what has been an issue with Italian rugby. You can say, particularly at the out half position, that there hasn't been many people to challenge. So now you've got 4 guys there who are competing hand in hand for that position, which can only be a positive thing.
Finally, is there any chance that Italy could win in Dublin tomorrow for the first time?
Absolutely. I mean, sport is the odds are completely against Italy, and as you alluded to, all those losses doesn't make for pretty reading. But I mean, you've had a sustained break period. The guys, I know both camps will be in, whether there might be a lack of match sharpness, but in terms of physique, guys have been training for these last 6 months, almost like a 6-month preseason. So there'll be no issue in terms of fitness or anything like that. So for me, it's as good a time as ever for Italy to get a scalp in Dublin, and that sort of uncertainty, could play into our hands. But I'm just hoping for, I think, been a fan of rugby, just seeing a good game, and just people expressing themselves, and just, I suppose, the joy of getting back onto the field, because it has been such a long period.